Delinquent.
Delinquent.
I'm surveying mortgage owners who are over 90 days delinquent.
There was a phone in this morning on Richard and Judy about delinquent children.
They call me delinquent.
On a juvenile delinquent in the offseason in his major league debut.
You've made me the happiest juvenile delinquent in Baltimore.
行为不良的人，带呼的。
Deliver.
Deliver.
Deliver to my front door.
I deliver in here?
No.
Miss B, Augie's does deliver.
The pizza that takes 2 guys to deliver.
I used to deliver drugs to my mother at work and my tricycle.
递送。
Delivery.
Delivery.
Baby delivery is our true calling.
Delivery boy, could you bring me my espresso?
Doctor, this delivery guy is insisting that you sign for this.
Right after you left, they wheeled her off into delivery.
What are you saying, I'm a lowly delivery guy?
递送。
Delta.
Delta.
Named Ashley Rensler. Ashley is pre-law at UT and her 3 sorority sisters from Delta will wash your car or truck inspect.
Delta.
Jared's at Delta West.
Location, Delta Vega.
Not your Delta New Ring L.
三角洲。
Demand.
Demand.
And based on what I know and Harvey doesn't, it wasn't Mike behind that demand.
He says my type is really in demand right now.
I demand some FaceTime with you and Vince this morning at 10 a.m. at my office.
It's good to be in demand, right?
This is where we march down to Martha Stewart and demand a damn blurb so we can compete with the machine.
要求。
Demerit.
Demerit.
Fuck you, demerit face!
I have to give myself a demerit for poor scene setting.
Listen, I'm gonna give you a demerit.
So then DIA, Defense Clandestine Services, recruiting, running assets, not a single demerit.
That's one demerit, Sordino.
缺点。
Democracy.
Democracy.
I think the institutions of our democracy are wonderful things that right now are populated by some terrible people.
Philosophy, democracy.
Quite extraordinary powers in a democracy.
Okay, of course, we would form a democracy, and everyone would vote on everything.
When their enemies were at the gates, the Romans would suspend democracy and appoint one man to protect the city.
民主政治。
Democratic.
Democratic.
But if Pullman gets a Democratic nod, they will show up to vote against him.
Independents and Republicans get the vote on the Democratic candidate.
Protege of the Attorney General of the German Democratic Republic.
Their democratic flavor doesn't suit my palate, Louis.
This is about the democratic process, Steve.
民主的。
Demographic.
Demographic.
And I have the projections and the layouts for the targeted demographic that you asked for.
I am not in your audience demographic. So Little Tito's fan base was a demographic of roughly 6 to 18.
We just grabbed every key demographic.
We're confident this will connect with the demographic you're aiming for.
人口统计的。
Demolish.
Demolish.
By tomorrow, someone's paying money to demolish it. And it ain't gonna be me.
Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
My task force will then move to the main entrance and demolish it.
Then, after the door to Elizabeth's room had been locked by you, enabling you to return there and at your leisure demolish everything.
To change the face of the world, to demolish and create anew.
毁坏。
Demolition.
Demolition.
I mean, there was no bloody demolition.
On the lighter side of things, seems that the crew responsible for the demolition of the Old Bailey wanted to give the old girl a grand, albeit improvised, send-off.
Sabotage, demolition, that line of country.
3. You should synchronize demolition with passage this train. 4. Good hunting.
We're calling it an emergency demolition.
破坏。
Demonstrate.
Demonstrate. And he will now demonstrate that, in fact,
At every turn, you demonstrate the necessity for your extermination.
Let me demonstrate for you.
Nonetheless, you have chosen to demonstrate alarming and dangerous behaviors.
You will demonstrate order in my courtroom?
示范，示威。
Demonstration.
Demonstration.
Come to the demonstration tomorrow and you'll see for yourself.
Don't forget, ladies, Reed wants a full demonstration bright and early in the morning.
Thank you for the demonstration.
This is a demonstration of a talking picture.
Want a demonstration?
示范
Denial.
Denial.
Denial is a powerful thing.
Denial of the painful present.
Never underestimate the power of denial.
Reasonable protests are denial.
You know, nostalgia is denial.
否认
Denomination.
Denomination.
All the same denomination?
Denomination, Church of England.
From one Protestant denomination to another.
They were Methodists, a denomination my father always referred to as Baptists who could read.
What denomination are you at the moment?
名称
Denote.
Denote.
Cynical is a word used by Pollyannas to denote an absence of the naivete they so keenly exhibit.
That you, at such times seeing me, never shall, by the pronouncing of some doubtful phrase as, well, we know, or we could, and if we would, or such ambiguous giving out, denote.
There's the royal standard, which flies for one reason only, to denote the presence of the monarch.
Together with all forms, modes, shows of grief that can denote me truly.
Other flourishes on the lower zone denote a highly creative yet meticulous nature.
指示
Denounce.
Denounce.
But do not denounce him without proof.
I stand before you once again to denounce the urban chaos we seem to have to live with in our great city.
If I do not denounce,
Osama took to the streets and mosques to denounce the U.S., the royal family, and their unholy alliance.
you will denounce the criminal acts against our people by your president.
告发
Dense.
Dense.
His dense molecular structure will make him strong.
Samantha, this physics book is really dense.
The corn was too dense, girl.
They're very dense.
You're dense.
密集的
Density.
Density.
An osteo-national bone density scanner.
Oh.
I don't make a particular protein very well, and it makes my bones very low in density.
Micro changes in air density.
Readings indicate cloud density diminishing, sir.
See these density changes in the terrain?
密度
Deny.
Deny.
And I'm not gonna deny that I freaking love Nickelback.
And this is more masters than you can deny.
You'd never deny.
Don't deny him the opportunity to work it out themselves.
Othello, I wonder in my soul what you would ask me that I should deny or stand so mammering on. What?
否认
Depart.
Depart.
Can we depart this afternoon?
He is to depart these lands, never to return.
In the morning, I depart for France to press our rights there.
Requesting permission to depart.
They're assembled and ready to depart.
离开
Department.
Department.
I need you to call the Princeville Co-op Police Department, and you tell them that I can have the killers to the Kalalau Beach in about 30 minutes.
I'm here from the Department of Noise.
It's a sign we need to step it up in the surrogate department.
Just so you know, there is a connection between Horn's department store and One-Eyed Jack's.
Well, did you get the facts from the Monkey Police Department about Drew Marshall, the man who's probably the real killer?
部门
Departmental.
Departmental.
Departmental policy is what I say it is.
Departmental scapegoat on the chief's orders.
I asked him in my capacity as his departmental therapist about his altercation with Lieutenant Nilsson.
If I die, I want a departmental funeral.
It's not a departmental matter, Mr. Yelbert.
部门的
Departure.
Departure.
Although hibernation has been used on previous space efforts, this is the first time that men have been put into hibernation before departure.
At the same time, it's this weird departure for her. Really?
Prepare for immediate departure.
Tower, stop your departure.
Transport departure in 2 hours.
离开
Depend.
Depend.
I guess that would depend on your point of view.
Remember, both of our futures depend on this.
Their lives depend on it. These people depend on me. We can't depend on him to help either.
靠
Dependence.
Dependence.
Hal, despite your enormous intellect, are you ever frustrated by your dependence on people to carry out actions?
It's called a cruel irony, like my dependence on you.
On which they actually seem to hope might somehow free them once and for all from any dependence on physical instrumentality.
Less games, more emotional dependence, you know?
We were developing a narcotic dependence on television.
依赖
Dependent.
Dependent.
Being this kid who was so overly dependent on her parents to just taking care of my strong dad as he weakly evaporated in my arms and watching my stoic mom.
Butts are bad because they wash out to sea and fish smoke them and become nicotine dependent.
Completely dependent on our driver.
I was dependent on that. Not to mention that this whole cockamamie plan is dependent on a machine that no one in this world is qualified to operate.
依赖他人者依赖的
Depict.
Depict.
I am not some insensitive, work-crazy dragon lady, and I'm not going to let you depict me as one.
If this really does depict the relationship between the giant and the little girl, then these things you call porcupines would appear to be gifts that the little girl is accepting.
Ladies and gentlemen, these photographs depict horrors you may be expected to react to with disgust.
Of course, you attributed it all to your ex-wife, Joan, but you gave her the details of my life because you wanted to depict her with contempt.
This year, we depict perhaps the most important day in our shared past, the first Thanksgiving.
描述
Deplete.
Deplete.
As the sole caretaker for his late mother, he was forced to deplete his personal finances.
Carrying me will slow you all down, just enough to deplete everyone's oxygen.
Deplete the planet, move on to another.
The way that oxygen might deplete.
Their sacrifice may deplete our number in flesh, but in spirit, it makes our gods stronger.
耗尽
Depletion.
Depletion.
And he was in a condition of dire calorific depletion.
Now, with ozone depletion and carbon monoxide polluted waters, well, we practically terraformed it for them.
And when they run down and don't work so good as they did, the depletion and depreciation can't be written off their income tax.
Anemia, cancer, bone marrow depletion, seizures, fever, hearing loss, impotence, neuropathy.
This sexually transmitted diseases, deforestation, irreversibly progressive depletion of the global gene pool.
消耗
Deploy.
Deploy.
Deploy that man overboard ladder right away.
Deploy the fleet.
Deploy the sentinels immediately.
Make ready to land our troops beyond their energy field, then deploy the fleet so that nothing gets off the system.
Stand by to deploy!
展开
Deposit.
Deposit.
Okay, you said I could sing at your wedding, so I'm just gonna need a small deposit.
Only because she wishes to preserve the Nequadri deposit for Bob.
Please tell me this is after you laundered our money and made the bank deposit.
We already put the deposit down on the condo next to Mama.
Yeah, Jacqueline actually put the deposit down, so that helps.
存款存放沉淀
Depress.
Depress.
Does it depress you, Commissioner, to know just how alone you really are?
I'm not going to depress you with the details. So, let's just say the next few years were complete shit.
It won't depress me.
The beach traffic can get really bad, and that might depress me even more than my crazy roommate, so...
It kind of depressed me.
使沮丧
Depression.
Depression.
And so then I fell into a great depression and denying that creative spirit in me until I think my sister Dolores said, "Why aren't you majoring in theater, Viola?"
Cutbacks, recession, depression, might lose their funding.
Discouraged over losing her job, Gabrielle decided a makeover would be the perfect cure for her depression.
So is bipolar and depression.
What about the depression?
不景气
Deprivation.
Deprivation.
I don't see how an alien, if he's here illegally, how he suffered deprivation of rights.
Terminal experiments in sensory deprivation.
Vacation without aggravation.
What is that, sleep deprivation?
I think sleep deprivation is like the #1 health problem in America.
剥夺
Deprive.
Deprive.
I would ask them with all my heart, but I've already asked Miss Steele for a visit. and we cannot deprive Mrs. Jennings of all her company at once.
We also realize, perhaps now more than ever, that it is not in a child's best interest to deprive him or her of an obviously loving father.
What's that going to deprive us of? You think I'm stupid enough to deprive myself of the best of us?
You're going to deprive her of it and you're telling me you're sorry?
剥夺
Depth.
Depth.
But now what we need is some more depth.
Dozer, when you're done, bring the ship up to broadcast depth.
For he made it the sign of the divine, the Godhead in our innermost depth.
I didn't understand the depth of that statement until I met you, Rob.
These are depth charges.
深度
Deputy.
Deputy.
He was on his way to bring me in, just as soon as his deputy told me that Dylan admitted to killing Lou.
Just another visit from Deputy Douchebag.
Thank you, Deputy Warden.
We spoke with Mission Commander Dr. David Bowman and his deputy, Dr. Frank Poole.
You and Deputy Burke, returning heroes.
副手
Derelict.
Derelict.
And I want you, Derek, to be the face, the image, nay, the spirit of Derelict.
Can you tell Dr. Golan that if she hadn't encouraged this cockamamie trip, maybe my son wouldn't be moping around all day in a derelict?
It was a derelict spacecraft.
It's not whatever, you fucking derelict.
Then pick a derelict off the street, poison him, then send him to a hotel.
被抛弃了的遗弃物
Derive.
Derive.
Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
Derive great horror from the experience, but it's still going on at a distance.
From which we derive the square root of...
I derive much consolation from the fact that...
See, if I could derive an equilibrium.
得自起源
Descend.
Descend.
1,000 nations of the Persian Empire descend upon you.
100 nations descend upon us. The armies of all Asia, funneled into this narrow corridor, and numbers count for nothing.
Then you may dress and descend to level 4.
We will hide within our walls, live our lives away from the light, and let darkness descend.
What is being called the message from Vega has caused thousands of believers and non-believers to descend upon the VLA facility here in the remote desert of New Mexico.
下降
Descendant.
Descendant.
Descendant of Numenor, blessed with long life.
He's also the descendant of St.
Now, I'm the direct descendant of the mountain man Jim Bridger.
Some people claim that Nanawe is a descendant of an ancient shark god.
There is a descendant of Corvinus lying there.
后羿传下的
Descent.
Descent.
Atlanteans before their descent into the sea.
Did Bernoulli sleep before he found the curves of quickest descent?
Ladies and gentlemen, as we start our descent, please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright position.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin our initial descent into Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It develops a technique for descent into the unconscious mind.
降落
Describe.
Describe.
How would you describe their relationship?
But I can't describe, even in words, that it was a hard story to tell, because at the same time, my sister Dolores was also...
Describe it to me in a way that makes me want to tear it off you.
Describe what?
Hey, Tilly, how would you describe this shade of red?
描述
Description.
Description.
And what state fits that description better than Florida?
Beyond description. Give me that description again.
This kind of thing wasn't in my job description.
You fit the description.
描述
Desert.
Desert.
And so he begins listening to the desert and discovering the soul of the world.
The desert.
I think the desert made a big impression on him.
If you want me to die in this desert, then so be it.
When I was in Gobi Desert, we did not undress for 10 weeks.
沙漠沙漠的放弃
Deserve.
Deserve.
Look,
I still feel you deserve better than that guy, but I had no right to screw with your marriage.
No, you deserve to be appreciated, and me too, you know, because,
We'll deserve no assistance from me.
What did I do to you to deserve this?
You're Gallagher's now. And Gallagher's fight for what we deserve, and we fight dirty.
该得到应得报答。
Design.
Design.
Maybe you could put your touch on this place, change the design, help take you to the next level.
Casey, I'd like to design something for you.
Did you show Lily your design?
Fashion Institute of Design.
So I drew up a design concept.
设计
Designate.
Designate.
Dan Wilcox will deliver them to your designate.
Designate your enemy, and any round you fire will explode around them 5-meter kill radius.
Due to your situation, I'm going to have to designate you liable to become a public charge.
The senator designates president. Those we do not designate will leave immediately.
指定已选出而未上任的。
Designation.
Designation.
I'd like to change a designation.
It's an official designation.
Its designation is EcomCon.
New designation?
Sick leave isn't the only designation they use when they take one of these priests out of circulation.
指示